Good morning. I'm just thrilled to be here in London today, and I truly am excited to share 6 new innovations that I really feel will make your life easier. I wanted to go back and just take a moment for the love of software. You know, all of us are technologists in this room, and if you go back, there was, sometimes I do a little reflection. I think, like, what was the things that happened in my life that brought me to this stage? And I thought it would just be fun for a moment to go back and just think about in your life, like, what was the pivotal conversation maybe that said, I want to get in technology? Was it a class? Was it a friend? Just raise your hand if you remember one of those crucial conversations, just curious, that brought you into technology. Only 10 of you. So about, about 5% of you remember that crucial conversation. For me, I remember I was back in the day, I was a developer, and I think everybody got their coffee this morning. I remember it was one morning, I had my coffee, and I was walking down the hall, which I normally do before I go start coding, and I noticed this huge line of people. So as I was walking down, drinking the coffee, there was like this person, they were kind of annoyed, they were in this line, they had this paper, and I'm drinking the coffee, and this person's having a conversation with that person, and just going, and this line's going. And I finally get to the front of this line, and I look and at the front of the line, everybody's like, what are they in line for? And at the front, this thing, I was looking at the audience, some of you might recognize it, some of you will not, was a facsimile machine. And everybody was in line to fax documents. And I remember looking at the line, sipping my coffee, and I said, you know what? I just remember reading an article of PC Magazine. Who remembers PC Magazine? Anybody? All right, we got a few. And there was this thing called a fax card. And I said, you know what? I could take a fax card, put it in a PC, connect it to the mid-frame, pretend it's a serial printer, and everybody can push a button and fax from their desk. And so I wrote that software. I think the next year we did $2 million in sales. And at that moment, that's when I knew that I loved software. I loved the idea of listening to a business problem and creating an amazing experience. And that's kind of what we do. And at Relic, that's, some of you I talked to, we talked a little bit earlier in the morning, that's what we do is we build technology, we build experiences, and New Relic's all about creating those amazing experiences. Today, we're delivering 6 major announcements to make your life easier. Metrics. Finally, you can instrument everything. Agents, everybody knows agents, right? But now agentless. You can instrument everything that you want. Finally, you have that full view. New Relic traces, so you can see everything across your entire enterprise. Logs, and let's talk about logs for a second. Anybody who saw the demo booth out there? Anybody? So how many of us have been in that situation where we go and we're all in New Relic, we're in APM, we're in infrastructure, and then we have that issue, and then what do we have to do? We have to go into a different logging solution and hope that we indexed the right thing. We want to bring all of that data in context for you, Nick, so you don't have to go into that different system. New Relic AI, finally see through the noise. Curious, how many of us have been paged in the middle of the night and it wasn't our system? It was something we're dependent on. Anybody? Come on now. Let's be honest. How many of us have had that 2 o'clock in the morning page where some other system broke and you get called to the bridge? All right. We want to help that stop. New Relic AI, we're going to demo a little bit about that. Programmability. Anybody talk about the programmability outside? Anybody? Who went to the booth yesterday? Who did training yesterday? Anybody? Jemiah, you were there? How many people did we have yesterday? What? 50 people doing programmability. So finally, you can innovate at your speed. We'll talk more about programmability. And then finally, open source apps. One of the things that I get blessed to do is talk to so many customers across the globe, Andrew. And what's interesting, we're at different companies, but we're often solving the exact same problems. Finally, you'll be able to collaborate together to solve those problems. So, while these innovations, not just innovation is fun, but because expectations are higher than ever of us. I'm just going to grab a big water here. Would you do the water thing? Sorry. All right. Expectation higher than this. Rapid delivery of code. If you think about it, a year ago, 2 years ago, if you could deliver every 6 months, that would be amazing. The expectations are much, much higher. Got the water things. The expectations are higher than ever for that rapid delivery of code. It used to be 1 year was good, 6 months, 3 weeks, 1 week, daily. Meeting service level objectives. We used to have a monolith, and when the monolith went down, it was pretty easy, right? It's down. Now we have tens, 50s, hundreds of microservices. How do we know that that actually was down? Zero downtime. The expectation is now that our systems must be resilient 100%. Sub-second response times and user experience. Last night we were talking about this. User experience is now built into everything that we do. And finally, we're all being challenged to talk about business value. Autonomous teams, you build it, you own it teams are going to be the standard mode of operation. Everything is being automated with increasingly advanced CI/CD pipelines where everything rolls out and goes back automatically. We've refactored many of our monoliths into tens, hundreds, or thousands of microservices. We've moved to the cloud or multiple clouds, and now we're hybrid. We containerize with hundreds or thousands of containers, living for minutes in many cases. We are absolutely moving faster as enterprises, but the complexity is going just as fast. How many people have Knox? Nobody, good. The idea of monitoring, the idea of sitting in front of screens and creating tickets, that simply doesn't work when we have hundreds of microservices and we're shipping code daily. What companies need is a new way to think. And increasingly, that's called observability, which is typically referred to as metrics, events, logs, and traces. But increasingly, that's not enough. True observability requires a platform. And what I'm excited to show you today are 6 new innovations, and all of these add up to the first observability platform. New Relic 1, open, connected, programmable. As we all know, innovation is about evolution. Let's take a look back to kind of how New Relic started. We started with APM. How many people were with us when we were just at APM only? Browser, mobile, infrastructure, synthetics, and it was easy. Just install an agent, and you had curated dashboards. What you may not know is behind that was the New Relic Cloud. That's really what powered that innovation. And behind that is NRDB. We've got Nick Benders today that runs the New Relic Cloud. And I think, like, what's the average? Was it like 2 billion events a minute?
2 billion a minute.
And like on a typical second, how many data inserts do we have? 22 million? So massive, massive scale. And it's upon that foundation that we're able to deliver the world's first observability platform that's open, connected, and programmable. Let's start with open. Metrics, events, logs, and traces, one place for all of your telemetry data. Now, agent or agentless, you can pull that data in. The first thing we're announcing today is New Relic Metrics. Finally, you can instrument everything. Whether you want to pull data from Prometheus, how many of us are using Prometheus? A lot less in the States. Whether you want to pull data from Prometheus, Dropwizard, now you can import all of that data into New Relic. It's all a first-class data system, and we've made it easy with built-in exporters. So again, you just put in your URL for Prometheus, and you can pull that data right into New Relic. In addition, everything else can be instrumented with a simple API call. So you think about if you had an IoT device, you think about midframe, mainframe, anything you can call with a simple API, and because it's all a first-class data citizen, you can see it through the entire New Relic platform. I think this is a great quote from Eric Birch. The ability to bring together the telemetry data from New Relic agents with Prometheus open metrics data from our Kubernetes clusters in a single platform is going to be a game changer. It is a game changer. And this is the important part. When issues arise, we don't want our engineering teams to have to switch between tools and lose context. So the second thing we're announcing today is New Relic traces. So now you can see across your entire enterprise. You can instrument data from anything you care about, again, supporting open standards such as Zipkin. And because it's a first-class data system, it's available across the entire platform. And the third thing, and this is the part I'm really excited, we're going to get Buddy up on the stage. Then the third thing we're announcing today is logs. So finally, everything's in one place. Fast search, no need to pay for or index. You don't have to decide. Everything's indexed, and it's easy to use. And so I'd like to welcome Buddy Brewer to the stage to demo logs. Come on, Buddy.
Yeah, thanks a bunch, Ken. You know, log data is so important. It's so important because those are the breadcrumbs that our developers leave behind for us to get in and solve problems, oftentimes in our moments of biggest need as application owners. We use lots and lots of logs at New Relic. Our customers use lots and lots of logs. And when we need those logs, a lot of times, it's because we're trying to solve a problem for our customers. You're trying to solve a problem for your customers. Minutes, seconds matter. You need them quickly. You need information in the proper context. So logs are really important. But there's a problem with logs. And Eric Birch, in the quote that Ken was talking about earlier, brought this up. It's about the context. You know, imagine what happens when an issue comes up in your application and you see that alert, you get the alert, you look into New Relic, you see that time series data. It leads you to a place where you need more information about what's going on in the application or the microservice at that point. And what we heard from our customers is that's the moment where they lose time in trying to resolve these problems because they have to pivot out of New Relic and into some other tool, and they lose the context from one place to the other to try and dig in and find that log data. And that's why we built New Relic logs. And so what I want to do is take just a couple minutes to show you today what New Relic logs is all about. It's right here in New Relic 1, the home screen that you log into that has all of our information. We can just go right in here into logs. And this environment that I'm going to show you today, as we're doing all of this stuff, fetching these logs, this is about 10 terabytes of information that we're just going to get in here and be conversational with. If I've got an issue going on right now, for example, I could go in here and say, you know, just show me all of the warn statements. It's going to go in here and it's going to crank through all of that data and pull back just the warn statements. Might want to go in and say, hey, I want to find, you know, in this issue, let's expand the time window a little bit and look at the last 12 hours. I can do that, and oh my gosh, I can see these spikes, so I can drill right into these spikes. I can just drag over them. It's going to run, and it's going to rerun the query and pull back just the logs from that time window that I'm interested in. Now, within here, I go in, and let's say it looks like there's an affinity for this service name. So let me further reduce this down to just the account service. So I can do that. It comes back quickly as I'm trying to get in here and solve this problem. The reason why all of this stuff is so fast is because of that telemetry database that Ken was talking about earlier, NRDB, that we built specifically to solve this type of problem, to make all telemetry data fast. So you don't have to get in here ahead of time and think about, you know, which parts of my log data do I want to index and which parts am I just going to let remain slow. So now I can go in here, maybe the host name, you know, it looks like there's an affinity for that too. I can facet that out, and yep, sure enough, I can see all these things are in this host name. I can click into these individual events at this point and get all the attributes. This is all fast. It's all in one spot. Now, the other piece is about context. So let's go back over here and let's look at our friend Kubernetes Cluster Explorer. So let's say I'm running a Kubernetes environment, and I'm trying to understand what's happening in this environment, and there's something that's going on, there's a pod that's not healthy, so I can go in here into this Kubernetes Cluster Explorer, and I can see all of these pods. Let's say I want to take a look at this order confirmation one. trying to figure out what's going on there. Ordinarily, if I had to pivot out of New Relic and go into another tool, I'd have to start from scratch. But thanks to logs in context, I can just click on this button. And what it's going to do is it's going to pull only the log data, only the log events that came out of that pod that I just clicked on. So it's going to fetch all of that stuff so that I've got all of this context. And within this view, I can do all of the same things that I was just doing in the other view. So that's what we mean when we say logs in context, trying to reduce the amount of time it takes for you to get to those critical events. We do this in a couple of other places too. So if we go into our Entity Explorer, I'll take a look at the web portal component that we've got in our application. And let's look at some distributed traces. So distributed tracing is a very important part of our platform. It's the part that allows you to see all of the different spans that went in to each of the services that made this thing go. So if I've got something that's a web request that has to span 5 or 6 different services, I can see all of that in one context. And that's a very useful piece of context. What's new with New Relic logs is that I can go even further than that. So when I bring up a distributed trace in this view, I can see all of the span data, but what I can also do is I can see all of the logs across all of those different services that contributed to the service of that actual request. So I can go in here, and if there was a problem with this, I can see some of this metadata like shipping and tax rate. Last thing I want to show about context is back over here. Let's go back through the Entity Explorer, get to the web portal. But I want to bring up something that, back to some of the earliest moments that made many of us fall in love with New Relic in the first place, with this ability to get down to the line of code in a stack trace and an error very quickly. So I can go into this view, I can see all of these different errors, and I can click on an error. I've always been able to do this, been able to do this for years. It's been a core feature of New Relic for a very long time. And I can see that stack trace, I can see all of the individual stack frames, I can see the line of code. Here's the part that's new. You can also see the logs. So if I click on View Logs, it's going to take me back over into the logging experience. And inside of there, I can see not only the stack frames that went in, that were happening around this error, but I can also see metadata. I can see, for example, in this case, this logging user in this example is showing things like information about the coupon and some other metadata on the request. So this is all in context, so that I can get to it, again, in that moment when minutes and seconds matter. We don't want you to have to pivot out of a tool and go into another one. We want you to be able to solve it all in one place quickly, and that's New Relic logs. Thanks, everybody.
All right, to summarize, we talked about New Relic, open, connected, programmable. Open, metrics, events, logs, and traces, now in one open platform. And again, all first-class data citizens. What that means is that when you put that data in, all of the tools, all of the functionality of New Relic work. One platform to see it all. The second aspect of an observability platform is all about connectedness. In May, we delivered New Relic 1, our new UI platform, on top of NRDB, which we talked about earlier, an easy way for you now to see all of your data throughout your accounts. So you can actually, if you go into New Relic 1, if you haven't, you click on the top, you can see through all of your accounts where your data is. And again, it allows you to take action wherever you need to. Curious, how many of you have clicked up on the top left and tried New Relic 1? Raise your hand. All right, so that's about the stats that we see as far as how many people. If you haven't tried it, well, I'll say if you have tried it, you've seen a lot of great functionality. We know that if you try New Relic 1 and you go into dashboards, 70% of you will stay in New Relic 1 the entire session that you're logged in. So if you haven't tried it, it's absolutely free. You just click on the top left, go into New Relic 1, because it's an amazing experience. And there's a lot of reasons to try it if you haven't seen it. So again, just click in. First of all, Entity Explorer. Now you can see what's upstream and downstream of all of your systems, all of your entities available right now in New Relic 1. Service maps, a dynamic real-time view into your entire enterprise. And again, it can look across accounts. You don't have that account structure anymore. And as Buddy showed us just a moment ago in that last Kubernetes Cluster Explorer, an easy way to see incredibly complex environments in New Relic. AWS Lambda for serverless, a first-class APM experience. How many of you are using Lambda right now? How many of you have tried Lambda? So you get that first-class APM experience. You can see it just as if you had an agent installed in that code. Or Chart Builder. How many of you are familiar with Nurgle? Some of you, what's nice about Chart Builder, being a great way to do it, is you go in Chart Builder and you can actually have our system build complex Nurgle queries for you. You've got a WYSIWYG, you click, and you get that. And then finally, connectedness, understanding what's upstream and downstream of systems is also about intelligence. How many of you used outlier detection? All right, now this is something, there's two people. So I think one over there. This is something that's included, we've got 3 now. This is something that's included in New Relic and has been included for about 6 months. And here's what it does. It looks at your data, you set the sensitivity, and it alerts you if it sees an anomaly in your data. So how many times have you had an alert that you set it too sensitive or you set it not sensitive enough and you didn't get the alert? This is absolutely free, outlier detection. I saw only 2 people raise their hand. That's shame on me. We need to do a better job of making sure you know about it. But that will actually save you a ton of time because it looks at the data constantly and tells you if there's an issue. And today, we're announcing the 4th of our 6 announcements, New Relic AI. New Relic AI is a smarter incident response system for busy DevOps and SRE teams. And again, the part that I'm really excited, having been the person, on the call, or been the leader that gets called to the bridge when you've got 10 teams, is you really want to get through the noise and find out which is the system that actually broke and bring that team so you're focused and you understand it. And Guy, you've got some great demos. So let me bring up to the stage Guy Fagel, GVP and product.
Thanks, Ken. All right, thank you, Ken. So, Ken, you've been talking about microservices and how we all changes the way we work with multiple different services. And we are here to help you all finding all of those root causes that will include all of those or contribute to all of those alerts that you're all getting and trying to make sure that you stay focused. It's all about focus and getting faster to a resolution. So you talked about the Entity Explorer and the service map. So think about your systems. And typically it looks something very similar to what I'm showing on the screen right now. And in that specific solution or example, you can see here a typical company. They're using web portal and they're using a mobile app. It's all connected into a fulfillment service here, all hitting a billing service, some external services, some MySQL service. So what happens when you deploy new code? And let's just imagine that we're deploying a code to the billing service. And that deployment hits some kind of an exception with a wrong or a buggy MySQL database call. All of a sudden, all of the dependencies, the fulfillment service, is going to suffer from that. And you're going to get some different types of errors. And then the users, some of them are running on the web, some of them are running on mobile, will also get some suffer from that. And the problem is that the different types of errors are going to be different. On the billing service, I might get an exception coming from a MySQL. On the web portal, I might get an AppDex score going down. How do we know to correlate automatically, without any user intervention, between all of those services? That's what we're here for. That's what's New Relic AI, and trying to get that faster into resolution. So I want to show you what all of you have been dealing with. So if I take, for example, your existing incident management platform, in that example I'm showing PagerDuty, you are suffering from the same problem in ServiceNow, on Opsgenie, or any other incident management platform that you're on, even emails, even Slack. The SRE team has a lot of different alerts that are coming into the platform. And notice how every single alert is different. And notice how every single alert is very specific, and different types of on-call people and teams are on those alerts. So there's no connected tissue between all of them. There's not connectivity, no explainability. It's every single incident for itself. It creates a lot of noise. You don't have the context. So what is New Relic AI? When you're getting a single page coming out of your incident management platform, you're going to see something like that. All of a sudden, you're going to have a single issue. You're going to have a single point of view for the problem. Look at how we've identified 14 different related activities to a particular problem. And not just that, it's coming from different sources. It's for the first time that New Relic AI understands your incident management platform as well. We're taking that as a source and not just as a destination, or just as an output. So we're actually gathering the information also from your incident management platform, and we're combining all of those different services with the New Relic information across the platform, whether it's those are metrics, events, logs, traces, all of that is coming together. And so we are smart enough to identify 14 different related problems. And so we are setting up the criticality automatically based on those different systems. We're showing you, as the first responder, that this is all correlated. And look at the analysis summary here. So what you can see here is our ML and AI models automatically classifying the types of all of those problems. So when you look at the screen, you can identify right from here that this particular problem is from an analyzed signal related to saturation problem and a latency problem. Not just that, we're pointing you in the right direction. Hey, go look at your storage. Go look at the web service or your application. And we will dynamically identify and classify those problems based on your components. So this is a pretty sophisticated ML model that will run across your particular data types and underlying applications, and it will identify those components. And then the analyzed signals are based on the 4 SRE golden signals. So that's an industry standard. And again, New Relic AI is smart enough to identify all of that for you automatically. So let's say that I actually got this page, and I'm looking at the issue log, and I have here explainability. So ML and AI doesn't need to be a black box. We're opening it all up for you, so you have explainability around the models. Why have we correlated them? What is actually going on here behind the scenes? And you have a plain, simple language around it. Okay? You actually understand what is going on. And, you know, not just that, every single group of correlations, we're going to give you further explanations around that. Now, here at New Relic, we believe that we're here not to replace humans, but to augment all of you. And because of that, you're part of the system. And because of that, we provide you the ability to control the logic next time as well. So we are here to learn from you and take your input as part of the ML and AI models. It's not just us. It's not just a black box. Here's an example of how you're actually going to do it, and it's per correlation logic. And at the end, again, because we're open and connected, as Ken mentioned, we also want to be open about every single event. So everything that you could already see in your system and incident management platforms, as well as New Relic alert policies and events, you're going to be able to see right here based on the timeline, and it's all open to you so you can have further explainability around what is actually going on behind the scene. This is the power of New Relic AI. Now, there is another important aspect of what we're bringing, and the change of thinking. We're actually flipping the pyramid, if you want to think about it that way. What does it mean is that we believe that we should work with your existing workflows and not just change that and convert that. And because of that, we thought it would be really, really powerful to provide our AI and ML capabilities right where you are. And what that means, if you're working with your incident management platform, or if in your collaboration platform, we're going to deliver a very similar experience that I've just showed in New Relic 1 inside your existing workflow. So just to prove that, I have here a PagerDuty page. And look at the page here. It's a single page. Your escalation policy is going to be configured to get only those correlated pages. And inside, look at how we're actually providing all of those incidents that are related to that page inside your existing incident management platform. So our teams actually build that experience using the APIs directly. You don't need to install anything. And that's going to provide a powerful explanation right here with the user notes. We're injecting all of the logic here as well. So no matter if you want to move your workflow and use New Relic, or you want to stay with your existing incident management platform, we're going to be right there for you and going to help you. And obviously, you can have links coming up from one system all the way back to New Relic AI. So let me actually show you a little bit on how we are configuring all of that. So inside New Relic 1, you have a new launcher, which is the New Relic AI. And in here, you'll be able to see that you have the ability to connect to your existing New Relic alerts. So everything that you've already configured, you build your alert policies, it's right in there. You can add a new policy, and you can right from here add whatever policies you want. So New Relic AI will automatically analyze all of them. And we're giving you, again, to be in control, giving you the option to choose what policies to add in and what not, because we've learned from all of you that some of you are actually using the production systems also for some testing, for some pre-prod. And we want to make sure that we allow you the ability to control that. Now, look at how we are adding a new source, which is the incident management platform. In that example, it's going to be PagerDuty. So we are now not just configuring the incident management platform to get the alerts out, but also to add all of the services that are in your incident management platform, and we are bringing that back into the platform for analysis. And we are also opening today a completely brand new REST API. And that will allow you to send any type of event, incident, data type that you wish from everything that either you developed yourself, any open source platform, think about Nagios service, think about Prometheus, think about any other platform that you wish to send information from, and we'll automatically combine and correlate all of those data types back in.
Yeah, a quick question on that. So
Sure.
The way that translates is if you have PagerDuty, ServiceNow, instead of getting that ticket that really didn't give you enough information to troubleshoot, you'll have all the information right in the ticket, built in automatically by the
Correct,
system.
exactly, right? So like what I've shown before, just think about it right here. You have all of the information, all the different incidents are tied together into a single meaningful page, and then you can actually have much more information right here in the user notes, and we're building that for any other platform as well. So going back, let me just jump right into this page. Pathways is a feature that all of you have asked for in different contexts. And what Pathways allows you to do is to smartly route based on your needs the different incidents already correlated. And think about it, how many of you are responsible for a particular subsystems, right? So say that I'm a DBA and I'm on the DB team, right? And I actually don't want to get paid, even for a correlated issue that is not related to a database. Now, for the first time, I can actually create a pathway. I can go in and I can say, hey, if the alert class, based on what I've shown you before, our AI and ML classifier, if the alert class contains, let's say, an error, which is going to be relevant to my database. And I want also the alert description to contain something like, say, a DB or any other. I can even go here and let's say maybe alert message contain, my MySQL query. I want only that to be routed to my incident management platform, and then I'm on the escalation policy, and I'm going to get only those correlated issues. So it's a powerful way and a routing tool for any of your teams to decide and even narrow down the specific correlated issues and incidents that you care about. And obviously, you can just say, hey, just send me everything, right? So it's very, very easy setup. Now, we've talked a lot about incidents and alerts and outlier detection, which is pretty cool. But what about the things that we don't know? What are the things that we never set up? Not even the outlier detection. I want to be able to have some sort of a smart solution to be able to track constantly all of the things that I care about. And I want to be able to say to that thing, what do I care about? And where do I want to get a notification for? And we've learned from all of you that we're all using collaboration tools. And doesn't necessarily mean incident management platform, doesn't necessarily mean the new Relic One UI, and we want to get it. And so we're actually introducing also proactive detection. And we are doing that inside your Slack channels. So we allow you to configure either a daily activity insights or real-time failure warnings, which the only thing that you need to know is like, hey, what is going to be the application name or the entity name that my team cares about? Click on it. So I care about the shipping service and the routing service, and I'm going to pretty much just, use an existing Slack channel, which is my team is on, and that's it. And what we do behind the scenes, we're actually constantly monitor for those 4 golden signals across all of those specific applications that you determined, and we're going to show it to you right side your Slack channel. So there it is. So if a planned service is going to get some kind of an anomaly based on what you define you're interested in. So if I'm interested in the planned service, that's all I need to configure. I don't need to configure bands. I don't need to configure whether I'm going to run on a specific metric or not. It's going to run around all of the different metrics and events that service is responsible for. And look how New Relic AI detected an anomaly here related to response time, but it is smart enough to go and fetch all of the related activities that happened. And so it actually detected that the planned service had a deployment recently, and who was the user that actually deployed that service. And so that the team that are working right side their collaboration platform can just chat and roll back. Easy as it is. Now, one other thing that I'm pretty excited to announce today as part of our GA already is enhanced incident context to your existing configured alerts inside Slack. So how many of you are actually using Slack for alerts, any type of alerts? Nice. I see a lot of hands this time, Ken.
You had a lot of hands in this one.
Yes, this question. So if you're already configured any type of alert coming out from New Relic into the notification channel, not always you have the understanding and the reasoning behind the alert. We want to make it simple for you to actually understand what is going on. So in production today, in GA, what you're getting for every single type of activity, New Relic AI is going to try and fetch additional information. And if we see some other entities that are related to that alert, we're going to automatically find the anomaly for you. We're going to put it right here. So here in that example, plan service got triggered by a user-configured alert, and then automatically enhance that alert inside Slack with additional entities that are affected, for example, the database right here. The web portal was an upstream, got suffered from that alert, and right here, your team will have much more context so we can identify that the database is the root cause for that specific alert. That's in GA today. So it's available, no extra cost. Go configure your alerts into Slack. And for all those entities that are going to be anomalous entities, we're going to inject that right into your Slack messages. One last thing that we're doing is, as I showed you here, we're also introducing daily active insights. Daily active insights, think about it as your smart assistants every hour or every day, depending on the configuration, will provide you a report inside Slack with all of those activities, all those errors, and all of those automatic anomalies that we've detected. And for those that we've detected, we'll even suggest configuring for you new alerts coming right off New Relic alerts and policies. That's going to save you all so much time. And we've heard that from customers. So to wrap up, we're introducing today in GA enhanced incident context going into Slack. We are introducing beta for every single other features that I've showed you today, whether it's enhanced proactive detection, whether it's all of the correlation capabilities, all of the smart incident response, and all of that is available. We are outside today with a team here. Happy to show you more demo, talk to every single person here about AI.
So the team's right out, and I think this isn't, to me, this demo is really interesting. We talk about open and instrumenting everything. So that's, agent, agentless, now you can put everything in New Relic.
Exactly.
And then when we talk about connected, only New Relic understands what's upstream and downstream. So it's really important in that example you just showed, because we can run those intelligence to say this talks to this, talks to this. So when there's that failure, and with the AI, this is a great example. We've all been in Slack channels where you could see this other team. Like, I know I've been in mini calls. You've done the same thing where there's an incident, and did anybody release anything? No, nobody released anything, right?
Now we know.
Nobody made any changes. Now the system's going to tell you instantly, this team released it, and you actually see who'd made that deployment.
Exactly.
So great job, Guy. Let's have a round of applause for Guy.
Thank you so much.
And just a fun fact to the good work that Guy and the team are doing is we have customers doing it, working with us right now in private beta. And going back to that alert detection, that noise, think about if there was 10 teams, 80% of that noise is now eliminated with New Relic AI. So that's a big, big efficiency driver for your companies. So we've talked about open, we've talked about connected and why that's important. And now I want to talk about the third, and what I actually think is the most important requirement of an observability platform, programmable. One of the things, and prior to joining New Relic, I was actually a customer, a large customer. And one of the things that I said when I was a customer is there's so much data in New Relic, just let me access it, let me activate on it. I mean, think about it. The data understands what's connected, it understands what version of the OS. There's so much data in New Relic. And we kept asking, like in the first customer advisory board, there's a lot of brands in there, and I worked for a big brand too. And we said, you know what, New Relic, like, we know you're going fast, but we want you to go faster. We want you to innovate faster. And I think about this, there's a CRM company that was a very similar situation. Is they were doing an incredible job at innovating faster. There's only one problem. Their customers wanted them to innovate faster. And sometimes I get that request from any product like, okay, you're doing some good stuff, but innovate faster. And so what that company did is they took their development tools and turned them over to their customers. So the same thing that they built their platform, the customers now had access to the exact same platform. And of course, that company is Salesforce. The CEO, Mark Benioff. And if you think about what AWS did, it's the exact same thing. So with programmability, what we're actually doing, you think about the New Relic One interface that we showed you, and even like all the work Guy's did, we actually turned that on. So you saw how Guy's application, how New Relic AI works. If you want it to work slightly differently, you now have the ability to change it. You have access to all of your data inside the platform. So you really can innovate at your speed. And we think about the power. Let's take a look. These are all New Relic dashboards, New Relic One dashboards. If you want to build like a digital twin of your business, like overlaying your digital physical retail stores with red, yellow, green, you can do that. If you want to drive cost efficiency, you can literally download an app or create an app and see that. If you want to understand your customer experience, some of us were talking about customer experience and the cost of having a frustrated customer on conversion. You can actually code. That's, again, a New Relic app. That's programmability that you can do. Or if you want to optimize your system. One of the things when we built this, we really wanted to make, how easy is it? Right? How easy is it for you to, because like I said, programmability, it's got to be easy. And I think the best way to talk about it is tell a little story about our CEO, Lou Cerny, who I report to. And one of the things Lou loves to do is he has hackathons. So he invites our developers to sit with him. And very similar to this picture right now, they don't talk to each other and they code for 12 hours. And it's an exciting time, and they create some of the most amazing code. And by the way, Lou still codes on our platform, so I'll get a note sometimes, like over the weekend, hey, that thing that you said was hard, I wrote it this weekend. It wasn't that hard. So one of the things that Lou and I wanted to do with programmability is wanted to make sure, like, how easy is it? So we invited customers from across the globe. We said, let's send your best developers and come with a business problem that the data's in New Relic, but you can't get access to it. What's something that we can solve in your company? And so we had companies, send people from across the globe. They all went to Chicago. If you see Lou's actually coding in the back of that. And we said, just code. And so again, 12 hours, nobody was talking, coding. They were having a great time, beers at the end of the day. And what was really neat is afterwards, we had customers go back and send us a note and say, that thing that I built, and they literally in 2 days, 3 days, it was a 4-day event, they built working applications. They went back to their companies, and actually one of them sent us a note and said, I'm already getting feature requests. That's how easy it is. And again, we're gonna walk through some demos in a little bit with Jemiah's gonna show that, but it is that easy. And one day, you can build it. That's how easy it is. And just a side note, is Lou's so excited about this hackathon, like coding, again, normally he's coding with our developers, coding with our customers' developers. We haven't announced the details, but Lou said, hey, you know what? What if I did the exact same thing and invited companies that write really cool applications on New Relic One that deliver a lot of business value? So stay tuned. If you might be interested in like hacking with Lou, that's probably something that'll be coming up, right, Andrew? Maybe we'll have some details in the not too distant future. So our final innovation today is how we can solve problems together. And I want to, before I bring up Jemiah, I just want to make sure I understand this. If you go to the break, here's one of the things that's super interesting. I get to talk to thousands of customers across the globe, hundreds of CIOs and CTOs, and everybody in this room, you're at a different company, but if you talk to somebody else at a company that's not yours and say, what's your key problems? Most of the problems that you're solving are the exact same problems. You're at different companies solving the same problems, and so we wanted to build something so that you can collaborate and start solving those problems together at your speed. And so with that, we're going to open source 12 New Relic apps, and nothing better than demos. Let me bring up Jemiah Sias to give us some demos of those things. Come on, Jemiah.
Thank you, Ken. Can you all hear me? Good morning. Try again. Good morning. All right, awesome. I see everyone's had their coffee, right? All right, so I'm Jemiah Sias, and I'm a senior product manager on New Relic One's team. I have this amazing role where I get to work with our customers and enable you on programmability and developing custom applications on our platform. So like Ken, I think you said that our customers, their data is so powerful, right? So with the power of programmability, we're giving you access to all of your data in New Relic and allowing you to code and deploy applications on top of New Relic One which opens the world to, well, opens it up to a world of possibilities, right? So it's going to allow you to innovate at your speed. One thing that we noticed with the launch of programmability, or going into the launch of programmability, is that we had quite a few customers that were all trying to solve the same problems. And so with these open source applications, we're going to allow you to collaborate and solve those problems together. So today I just want to demo some of the applications that we're open sourcing with programmability, and hopefully you see a few cool ones that you can come out to the Hacker Lounge, and we'll help them get you to deploy them into your account today.
Jeremiah, when you find that up, so just it's going to be GitHub repos. Everybody can do pull requests, so you can collaborate with companies across the globe to solve these things.
Exactly.
All right, go ahead.
All right, so before I hop into my first example, and I'll leave it here on the New Relic 1 homepage. With New Relic, we can collect all types of data, right? So anybody that's familiar with infrastructure, you might know that for a while our agents have been extensible. We call this infrastructure integrations. And a while back, we had one of our relics created an integration that allows you to add your network traffic to our NRDB in the form of events. But once we've had that data added to our database, the only way you could visualize it was using dashboards. And so with programmability, we're actually able to go beyond dashboards. And so what I want to show you is the first example. It's going to be our network telemetry example. Select an account, and first thing I want to do is I'm going to bump up my refresh rate. So what this example is going to do is it's going to allow you to get a real-time view of all of your IPFix or SFlow data and really get an understanding of what's going on with your network traffic throughout your application. So let me pop over into my SFlow chart. Let's give it a while. Sometimes it takes a minute to update. Oh, so maybe I have no SFlow data for this account that I've selected. But it also allows me to get like this just very detailed real-time view, being able to drill in and see exactly what's going on with my network traffic. This example is free. It's available on GitHub. You can get this deployed into your account within minutes. So who's excited about really getting an understanding of what's going on with the traffic that's in their network?
Yeah. And Jeremiah, I just want to, again, we talked about today, now you can instrument everything. We launched that, again, that open instrumentation, so everything can be instrumented. You know, now network data is just another data point for us. So you can visualize it in real time. You can alert on it. You have access to all of that. And I think that's going to really open, because a lot of times I've had conversation with customers like, you know, I've got this old mainframe, I'd love to pull some data. I've got some routers that I want to pull data from. Now you can pull all of that data. You can see it in the way you want. And again, these are all the New Relic 1 dashboards. As we talk about programmability, you've got this dashboard, but anybody can modify this source code into any view that they want.
Exactly. You can fork this code, make it work however you need it to, make any type of updates that you need, and also become a contributor and work with us on making these applications better. My next application that I want to show you, this one was created in partnership with one of our retail customers that had a problem they were trying to solve around aggregating alerts for specific business functions with user-defined configurations. So in this configuration of the Neon application, we have it segmented into two business vectors, one being location and the other one being function. So if I was to choose a location, I'd be able to see all of my alerting incidences over a 30-day period. And if I was to have an incident going on, I'd be able to quickly jump into that alerting policy to acknowledge and resolve the issue. So it just gives you a really high-level view with very specific configurations of what's important to your business to have an understanding of what's going on with your alerts. This is another one of the applications that we can help you get set up and deployed. And also, I just want to point out that even though I have it segmented by these two business vectors, you can create this view based off of any definition that you need, any type of business vectors that will work for you.
Yeah, Jeremiah, if I just want to, earlier you saw me show a map overlay. We see increasingly amount of customers, that convergence of digital and physical, and I think this is a great example where you can put all of that into New Relic and see that, you know, what stage are we? Just sold it on the e-commerce. Now we're running it through all the way to shipping. You have the ability to instrument your entire digital enterprise. Go ahead.
Exactly. So one of the cool things that we noticed with programmability is that we had a lot of customers that were using programmability to figure out issues around like estate management, right? So a lot of our largest customers, or even our fastest growing accounts, just having an understanding of what was going on inside of their environments could have been quite a challenge. And so here in our container explorers, and how many of us are using containers? Show of hands. So it's quite a few of us, right? So here in my container explorer, I can see that I'm currently viewing 126 containers in this account, but it's going to give me this great heat map view of all of my containers. I'm able to select a container that I'll highlight in all 3 segments. I can see that it's segmented based off of CPU, memory, and disk. It's going to give me greater detail into what's going on within my containers. And since New Relic is an open platform, I'm also able to click through and get a better understanding of what's going on with the host as well. Just give this a second to load up. So I can instantly see what's going on with my host, and it just adds a lot of context into the performance of my containers that I'm monitoring with this account.
Right, I think the high density view is interesting, especially, we've got Kubernetes Cluster Explorer, which Buddy demoed a little bit earlier. We have customers that literally fire up hundreds of thousands of containers per minute that live for maybe 5 minutes. And so being able to have that kind of high density view really helps.
Yep. And I think this is configured to where you can view your top 2,000 containers in one view. All right, so I'm going to go into I'll go into 2 more examples before I wrap, and the next one is actually going to be one of my personal favorites. The reason that I like this example is, let's think about you're in a situation to where you have a SEV1 incident going on. You're in a firefighting situation. Right. It's like, who wouldn't like to know just with one click the right person to reach out for to get some help? And that's what I really get from this GitHub example, is that it's going to allow us to, one, extend our entity and create a connection between the entity and the GitHub repo that's powering that entity. So we make a direct connection between our entity and our code repo, and it's going to allow me to view the README file for that GitHub repo and also take a peek at the contributors. And in the instance, like I'm dealing with this situation, I know exactly who to reach out to, quickly find help without ever leaving the New Relic platform.
And that's, again, for large enterprises, sometimes you have that service and no one's modified in years. Anybody been on one of those calls where it's like, and who wrote the last code to that? So think about now you can associate the entities. It will go to your GitHub repo, pull in that, and so if you had an issue, real time, you could click into the entity, click on it, see the contributor, see who last coded, and find them to bring them to the call so you can solve the problem.
Exactly. So who wouldn't love to get that connection done today? Get that extra added context to their entities in New Relic.
I would like it.
All right, and so before I wrap, I'm going to show you one more example. This one I find quite cool as well. It's going to be our cloud optimized example, and what it's doing, it's taking your infrastructure data, and it's also marrying that with our AWS pricing data, right? So it's going to give you a view. When you load Cloud Optimized, it's going to scan all of the EC2 instances in your account, and it's going to look for those instances that may be over-provisioned. So show of hand, who thinks we might be over-provisioned in our accounts right now, right? So this may be one that I can see a lot of people running out to the Hacker Lounge to get installed today. So once it scans all of your instances, it's going to give you a detailed view, and you actually get to select what do you consider optimized to be. So just by adjusting the slider, I'm going to kind of stick it back on 50 and say, show me all of the EC2 instances that maxed out at about 50% usage last week. And I know that any of these instances that maxed out at about 50%, I may be able to downsize those instances. And it's going to show me kind of like some pricing detail of if you were able to make these recommended changes. Right now, your non-optimized spend is $2.5 million per month. Your optimized spend could be $890,000, and you'd save $1.6 million. So this is all fake data for now, right? But we've deployed this into customers' accounts within 5 minutes, and they've been able to save thousands of dollars or find thousands of dollars of savings without any configuration being necessary.
This is, again, a great example of unleashing the power of the data that was already in New Relic. We've had a couple of times where someone literally went and did this and identified like $90,000, went to their boss and said, I just saved us $90,000.
Exactly.
Fun fact, according to Gartner, that the cloud business is about hosting business, about $100 billion business. According to Gartner, $35 billion of that spend is over-provisioned cloud instances. So again, this is a great example of just one application and the things that you can build yourself or download. Like literally right after this, they can download this, run it against their production systems, and get numbers.
Yep. Stop by the Hacker Lounge. We'll get you up and running today. So I asked a show of hands, so who's excited about Cloud Optimize? I hope to see a lot of you all at the Hacker Lounge. I think we're going to have quite a busy day, right?
Yeah.
I want to do one more thing. I'm going to do one more thing. Before I leave, I want to show you how easy it is to get one of these examples running in your account. Is that okay, Chris?
Absolutely, yeah.
Awesome. So what I'll do is I'm just going to open up a new tab and pop over to our developer website, which is developer.newrelic.com. In our main navigation, you'll see the open source examples link. And that's going to take us into the open source examples library where you can get detail about all of the open source apps that we've launched so far. I'll just select one of these apps. I think I'm going to select Groundskeeper since it's the newest one that we've open sourced. On the page, it's going to provide me with a command line command that I can just copy and paste. So let me do that. Just give me a second. I'm getting used to this keyboard. There we go.
That's all right. It took me a while to get used to the stage.
So let's see. I'm going to go over into my terminal. Just run that command and give it a second. So this is going to clone my repo. It'll update my UUID, do a few cool things that'll get it ready for me to actually get this running. And also to provide me with this nr1 nerdpack serve command. So I'm going to copy that. First thing I know I need to do is I'm going to cd into the repo for my app. And I'm just going to run that command. So this nerdpack serve is going to create a local webpack process that'll open up a port and allow me to serve this application directly into New Relic 1 from my local machine and provide me with the URL to go to. Let's copy that. I'll go back to my New Relic 1 homepage, and I'm just going to update this URL. Second to load, and now I can see I have my Groundskeeper agent ready. I'll click that launcher that's going to take me into my application, give it a while to load up and process, and hopefully I'll get some exciting information about agents that I may be able to update in my account right now. So as simple as that, I have pulled down one of our open source examples, I have it running my account, and I can start to use this and make some better business decisions.
Right, so going back to that example, yeah. So if they want to save tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars cloud, it's just the same thing. They just go to the Cloud Optimizer application.
Exactly. And in the GitHub repo, it gives you detailed about which New Relic products use for each of the open source examples as well.
That's great. I'm going to stay up for a few minutes. I think the next question, if we go back to the slides for a moment. All right. I don't know if anybody thinks of it. One of the questions that I get sometimes when we've talked about programmability, or a lot of times I'll do calls, is, and how easy is it really? Like to go from idea to production. I think you were there, and Buddy, I think actually, you saw Buddy earlier, actually drew this napkin drawing and said, here's how we want to think about a frustrated customer. Like, again, have we optimized the website experience to maximize conversions? So literally it went from this napkin drawing to that application, which you can download right now, in a day. That's how easy it is.
Simple as that. How about I show you how easy it is to actually create one of these applications?
That'd be great.
Awesome.
Let's go back.
So let's go back into the command line, and I'll stop this server that I have running.
You could do a hello world?
Yeah, sure.
Hello London?
Why not? All right. All right, so I know I have my, my nr1 CLI installed, so I'm just going to create a very simple app for you all. So let's say nr1 create. And I'm going to create a nerdpack, right? So I'll select nerdpack, and I'll stick with this name. We'll create an old Dr. nerdpack. So this is going to handle creating the nerd pack for me, get everything up and running. It'll create a directory. Now I have this directory called Old Doctor. I'll cd into that. All right, so I'm just going to run npm install, see if there's anything that needs to be installed. And then I'll do my nr1 nerd pack serve. That's going to start that same process. That'll expose this application to New Relic 1. Oh, it did not copy. Thank you. So let's see. And you can see now I have my Old Doctor launcher. I'll launch into the application, give it a second to load. It says, oh, hello, Old Doctor Nerdlet.
Awesome.
Let's see if I can make one small change. Oh, no. Oh, sorry.
We're doing the other, but we got the Old Doctor. That's great. Fantastic. All right, let's go back to the slides. I want to just show a couple of other ones so you can get it. We've got, again, 12, right? But let's go through that. So back over on the slides. Or back up. All right, so Site Analyzer. Again, another application you can download absolutely for free. This is really interesting. We had one customer come in, and a lot of customers use feature flags, so whether it be Launch Darkly or Split IO. And one of them came in and said, I want to build it so that I can actually turn the feature flags on or off inside of the New Relic's workflow.
Exactly.
So you'll see a demo of that. And you can actually if you use Split IO, you can actually download, and within New Relic, within your existing workflow, pull in all the data of Split IO and actually toggle on and off features within New Relic. Earlier we talked about customer journeys. You can download a customer journey application and see exactly what your customers are doing. And this is one of the things I always get a request. What's the cost of a minute of downtime? And for anybody, if you get close to management, someone's going to say, what's the cost if we have an outage per minute? So now you can download an application that helps you calculate automatically for you. And again, we have 12 observability apps open source.
Actually, it's 14.
14 now.
14
Was
apps.
Luke coding this weekend?
Yep.
So 14 apps you can download absolutely free. And from a skill set perspective, if you know React and GraphQL,
You're ready to code?
that's it.
That's it.
So to get started, they can either go out to the Hacker Lounge, which is out to the left.
Meet me at the Hacker Lounge, just out the door to the left. If you bring your laptops, we can do more than talk about the examples. We'll actually get them deployed into your accounts today.
Yeah, and that's like from the New York, it was great when we did that. We had like a lot of people to actually put code, and actually I think one person saved $70,000 like when they fired it up on their instance. So you literally can walk outside, fire it up, and see what savings you can have on your cloud optimized. Go back and say, hey, that investment I made at the New Relic thing, I just made $90,000 for the company. It's a good way to go back.
Exactly. And one instance in Melbourne when I did the training, a customer went home that night after the training, developed a custom use case, and deployed it into production that night.
That's awesome. And so if you don't go to the Hacker Lounge, you can also go to developer.newrelic.com.
Exactly, and you'll be able to get all the information you need about getting the CLI deployed and also see all of the open source examples in our open source library.
Great. Big round of applause for Jemiah. That was so awesome. So I said this earlier, but innovation is absolutely about evolution. And I really feel these 6 innovations that we're delivering today make New Relic stand out as the one and only observability platform. Metrics, you can instrument everything. Traces, you can see across your entire enterprise, agent or agentless. Logs, you can see everything in context. New Relic AI, no more getting paged to things that don't matter. And when you have an issue, you get context. You know that some other team deployed something that you're dependent on. Programmability, and now collaborating with open source apps, we're really excited where that brings us. Because again, with New Relic 1, we've got these great boxes up here in the great show. But open instrument everything, connected. Only New Relic understands what's upstream and downstream of everything. And if you understand why that's so important, because you understand the cascading dependencies. When you build those microservices and this system calls this system, calls this system, we understand all of that. And we can do it, and we put AI against it. So we're looking at all those dependencies. That's why that demo that the guy was able to show you, where it'll say, hey, you just got paged to this call in Slack, and that system just deployed that you're dependent. Even if you didn't know you were dependent on it, we know that you were dependent on it. And then finally, programmable. So you can innovate at your speed, and you can collaborate now on all those applications. So hopefully you feel like I feel. New Relic has shown that we're really focused on making your lives easier. Starting as a developer, what you do is hard, right? Sometimes you work a lot of hours. Sometimes you have those false pages. What you do is hard, and we're really focused on how can we make your lives easier. So let's build more perfect software together. Thank you.